I mocked my fiancé's performance as a joke at our engagement party, then he hit play on a clip that exposed my affair. The room went dead quiet. I've always known I was meant for more than ordinary. Standing in the marble lobby of the Meridian Hotel, watching my team transform the ballroom into a golden wonderland for tomorrow's pharmaceutical launch, I felt that familiar rush. The kind that comes from knowing you're untouchable. My company, Lux Occasions, had just locked down a contract worth more than most people make in 5 years. The executives were practically eating out of my hand during the pitch. "Lara, you're a GD genius," the CEO had said, sliding the signed contract across his mahogany desk. Nobody else even came close. Of course they didn't. I don't do second place. My phone buzzed. "Ethan. Again. Dinner at 7? Made reservations at that Italian place you mentioned." I typed back without looking. "Client emergency. Don't wait up." 3 dots appeared immediately. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Finally, "Okay. Love you." God, he was predictable. Ethan Westbrook, my fiancé of 8 months, was like a blueprint, every line exactly where you'd expect it. Stable. Dependable. Boring as beige wallpaper. Don't get me wrong, he had his uses. The man worshipped me like I was his personal religion. 6-figure salary, good genetics, never asked too many questions. He was the kind of guy you married for the suburban dream. The kind who'd never suspect his future wife was suffocating in his perfectly planned world. Mrs. Soon-to-be Westbrook. My assistant, Brienne, appeared with champagne. The Vermilion people just confirmed for next month. That's 7 major clients this quarter. I took the glass, letting the bubbles tickle my throat. "Stop calling me that. I'm not changing my name." She laughed like I was joking. Everyone always did. The truth? I'd built my empire from nothing. At 22, I was planning bachelorette parties for sorority sisters. Now, at 31, I had politicians and Fortune 500 CEOs on speed dial. My face was on the city's 40 under 40 list. I'd created something extraordinary, and I'd done it by being exactly who I was, sharp, ruthless when necessary, and absolutely magnetic. Ethan? He drew buildings. Safe, standard buildings that would stand for 100 years and bore people for every single one of them. My phone buzzed again. Different number. Drinks at the Ritz? My treat for closing the deal. Damian. Now there was a man who understood hunger. Damian Reeves didn't just walk into rooms, he consumed them. Venture capitalist, married, dangerous in all the ways that mattered. We'd met 3 months ago when I organized a conference for his firm. He'd watched me command that room of investors like a conductor with an orchestra, and afterward, he'd cornered me at the bar. "You're wasted on party planning," he'd said, eyes doing that thing where they promised everything and guaranteed nothing. "I don't plan parties," I'd corrected. "I create experiences." "Then create one for me." That was 3 months ago. Since then, we'd been playing a game that set my whole body on fire. Secret meetings. Expensive hotels. The kind of passion that left bruises and broke furniture. The kind Ethan would never understand, let alone provide. "Give me an hour," I texted back. The engagement party was tomorrow night. 200 of our closest friends and family gathering to celebrate the perfect couple. Ethan had been planning his toast for weeks, showing me drafts like I gave a damn about his metaphors about solid foundations and building something together. I finished my champagne and handed the glass to a passing server. Tomorrow, I'd play the blushing bride-to-be. I'd laugh at Ethan's awkward speech, pose for photos, pretend his mother's passive-aggressive comments didn't make me want to throw my ring in her face. But tonight? Tonight I was going to be exactly who I really was. Walking out of the Meridian, I caught my reflection in the glass doors. Black dress that cost more than most people's rent. Heels that could destroy. Smile that had closed million-dollar deals. I was Lara F. Word Cordova. I owned this city's elite social scene. And I was about to meet my married lover while my fiancé ate Italian food alone, probably sketching buildings on napkins. That was 3 months ago. Now I'm standing at our engagement party, watching Ethan fumble with some pathetic speech, not knowing I'm meeting Damian again tonight. The Ritz that night 3 months ago changed everything. Damian had ordered a bottle of wine that cost more than Ethan's monthly car payment. We sat in a corner booth, hidden behind velvet curtains, and he told me about deals that moved millions with a phone call. His wedding ring caught the candlelight when he gestured, and I found myself staring at it. Not with guilt, with fascination. "Does she know?" I'd asked. "Does he?" Damian countered, nodding at my engagement ring. Ethan thinks I hung the moon. Then he's an idiot. He leaned forward. The moon doesn't shine. It just reflects light from something more powerful. That line should have been cheesy. From him, it was intoxicating. By our third meeting, I was hooked. Not just on Damien, on the whole elaborate deception. There was an art to it. Leaving my assistant with detailed alibis. Creating vendor meetings that didn't exist. The way my heart raced when Ethan called while Damien's hands were on me, and I'd answer with perfect calm, just wrapping up with a florist, "Baby. Be home soon." The money started small. An extra 1,000 here, 2,000 there. Adding invoices was easier than I'd expected when you ran the company. Create a fake lighting vendor, bill the client, pocket the difference. My accountant never questioned it. Why would she? I'd made us all rich. Those funds became our secret world. Vegas for a conference. Miami for a vendor showcase. That weekend in Aspen where I told Ethan I was at my sister's, helping with her divorce. He'd sent flowers to her house. I had to intercept them before she found out. "You're playing with fire," Damien had said one night, watching me delete Ethan's texts without reading them. "Fires keep you warm," I'd replied, pulling him back to bed. The thing about Ethan? He was so grateful to have me, he never looked too close. When I'd come home at 3 a.m. smelling like another man's cologne, he'd assume I'd been comforting a drunk bridezilla. When I'd wince at his touch because of marks Damien left, he'd apologize for being too rough. He lived in a world where I was perfect, and he'd blind himself before seeing otherwise. Last week had been the closest call yet. Ethan had surprised me at the office, wanting to take me to lunch. Damien's jacket was draped over my chair. Without missing a beat, I'd grabbed it and handed it to my assistant. "Can you get this to Mr. Reeves?" He left it at the venue tour. Ethan had smiled and kissed my forehead. "You're always taking care of everyone." If only he knew. The fraudulent invoices had grown bolder. 15,000 for specialty linens that never existed. 20,000 for imported orchids that were really just roses from a wholesale market. My business partner, Camille, had started asking questions, but I knew exactly how to handle her. "The Pemberton wedding alone will clear 200,000, I'd reminded her. "Do you really want to micromanage my vendor relationships?" She'd backed off. They always did when you reminded them how much money you brought in. Last night at the Ritz, our spot, our room, our game, Damien had been different. Rougher. More demanding. Like he was trying to mark territory that was already his. "My wife hired an investigator," he'd said afterward, lighting a cigarette despite the hotel's policy. And I'm too valuable for her to leave. Half of my assets are hidden offshore anyway. "Must be nice to be untouchable," I'd said, tracing patterns on his chest. "Aren't we both?" I'd left at 2 a.m., told Ethan I'd been handling a crisis with a cancelled venue. He'd made me tea and rubbed my feet, going on about how hard I worked, how lucky he was. "The engagement party's tomorrow," he'd said. "I've been working on something special." "Another blueprint?" I'd teased. "Going to build me a house made entirely of your feelings?" He'd laughed, but there was something in his eyes I couldn't read. Something like that. Now, watching him tap that microphone at our engagement party, adjusting his glasses the way he always did when he was nervous, I felt my phone vibrate. "Damien. Can't wait to hear about the boring architect's speech. Save your energy for later." I smirked, typing back under the table. Walking into our engagement party, I saw Ethan standing there with that stupid nervous smile. I should have noticed the iPad in his hand. The Sterling room had never looked better. I'd outdone myself, even if I was the client this time. Crystal chandeliers casting perfect light, arrangements of white roses and gold eucalyptus, every detail screaming understated elegance. The kind of party that would end up in the society pages. "Lara, darling, everything's absolutely perfect." Ethan's mother, Patricia, air kissed me while somehow managing to look disappointed. Though I still think the country club would have been more traditional. "Traditional's never been my style," I said, grabbing champagne from a passing server. I worked the room like I always did. A joke here, a compliment there, making sure everyone knew who was really running the show. My friends from the industry clustered around me, hanging on every word as I told the story about the senator's daughter who'd wanted live swans at her wedding. "So I told her," I said, hitting the punchline, "swans are idiots. Just like your father. Get roses instead." The laughter was perfect. God, I loved being the center of attention. Ethan stood by the bar, nursing the same beer he'd been holding for an hour. Navy suit, conservative tie, hair parted the way his mother probably did it when he was 5. He was watching me with this dopey smile, like I was something precious he still couldn't believe he'd caught. "Your fiancé's such a sweetheart," my friend Genevieve whispered. "So devoted." "Like a golden retriever," I said, loud enough for others to hear. "Just need to teach him not to hump my leg every night." More laughter. Ethan's ears turned red, but he kept smiling. That was the thing about him, he'd take any humiliation as long as it came from me. "Remember when he proposed?" I continued, rolling my eyes dramatically. "He made a whole blueprint. An actual blueprint of our future house. With a special room just for my shoes." I was like, "Baby, that's called a closet." "At least he tries," someone offered. "Oh, he tries," I said, taking another sip. "Last week, he tried to be spontaneous. Showed up at my office with grocery store flowers. Carnations. I was meeting with the mayor's wife." The crowd ate it up. This was my element, performing, commanding, making everyone else feel like bit players in my show. That's when Ethan cleared his throat and tapped his knife against his glass. The sound was so tentative, so typically him, that I actually laughed out loud. "Everyone? If I could have your attention?" "Oh God," I stage whispered. "He's doing a speech. Someone get me another drink." But people were gathering around, and I had to play along. I moved to his side, already preparing my sympathetic but amused face for whatever stammering mess he was about to deliver. "First, I want to thank you all for being here," he started, his voice shaking slightly. "It means the world to share this moment with the people who matter most." "He practiced this in the shower for a week," I announced. "I have it memorized." A few chuckles, but Ethan just nodded. "She's right. I did practice. Because when you're marrying someone like Laura, you want to get the words right." "Someone like me?" I interjected. "You mean someone way out of your league?" "Exactly," he said, and for a second, something flickered across his face. "Someone who knows exactly what she's worth. Someone who takes what she wants." The way he said it made my skin prickle, but I shook it off. "You know," he continued, "being an architect teaches you about foundations. About what's real and what's just facade. About structures that look perfect from the outside but are rotting from within." "Jesus, baby, it's a party, not a TED Talk," I said, getting bigger laughs. "Someone check his beer, I think he's actually drunk." He smiled at me. Really smiled. Not the nervous, grateful smile I was used to. Something else. "I have something I want to share with everyone," he said, pulling out his iPad. "Some memories from our time together." "If this is that slideshow of us at Wine Country, I'm leaving," I joked. He was connecting his phone to the venue's AV system, fingers moving with unusual confidence. The giant screen behind us flickered to life. "This is from a very special night," he said. "Just recently, actually." The room went quiet. That wasn't our vacation photos on the screen. The screen showed the Ritz Hotel hallway. Timestamp, last night, 11:47 p.m. My blood turned to ice water. There I was, in the black dress I'd told Ethan was for a client emergency, walking with Damien. His hand on my lower back. Me laughing, head thrown back. Then keycard in hand, both of us disappearing into room 1247. The room was dead silent. 200 people watching me enter a hotel room with a man who wasn't my fiancé. I started, but my voice cracked. "Wait," Ethan said calmly. "There's more." The video switched. Security footage from the parking garage. Me and Damien in his Bentley, him pulling my hair, my leg wrapped around. "Turn it off." I lunged for his phone, but he stepped back. "But we're just getting to the good part," he said. Audio filled the room. My voice, crystal clear, from a phone recording. "Ethan's so F-word pathetic. He actually thinks I'm at these vendor meetings. Like I'd spend my Friday night looking at centerpieces when I could be with a real man." Damien's laugh. Then me again. The fool's probably at home right now, sketching his little buildings, planning our dream house. If he knew what I did in our bed while he's at work. My mother gasped. Someone dropped a glass. The sound of it shattering was the only thing that broke the silence that followed. "Lara," my father's voice, hollow and distant. Ethan pulled out a folder from inside his jacket. Thick. Official looking. "Now, I know what you're all thinking," he said conversationally, like he was presenting blueprints to clients. "This could just be a one-time mistake. People make errors. But see, that's where it gets interesting." He opened the folder, pulled out papers. 3 months ago, Lux Occasions billed the Pemberton wedding for $40,000 in specialty linens. Would you like to see the actual invoice from the linen company? $8,000. Where did the other $32,000 go? My legs weren't working right. I grabbed the table for support. Or this one, he continued, flipping pages. The governor's fundraiser. Imported orchids from Thailand. $55,000. Except. He held up another paper. The flowers came from a wholesale market in Jersey. $3,000. You went through my files? My voice sounded strangled. Your business partner did. He nodded to where Camille stood in the corner, arms crossed. She came to me 6 weeks ago. Worried about discrepancies. As your fiancé, she thought I might know if you were in some kind of trouble. Camille wouldn't look at me. So I hired someone, Ethan said. A forensic accountant. Would you like to know what they found? My phone was exploding. Notifications flooding in so fast I couldn't read them. Clients. Vendors. My inbox showing subject lines like contract termination and immediate review required. $67,000, Ethan announced. Stolen over 4 months. And here's the beautiful part, you documented everything. Digital trails, bank transfers, even emails where you joke about it. He pulled out his phone, showed the screen to the crowd. I sent everything to your client list at midnight. All of it. The security footage, the financial records, the audio recordings. Even the text messages. He smiled. Oh, did I mention I've been recording our conversations for 2 months? Every time you lied about where you were. Every fake vendor meeting. Every night you came home smelling like him. Someone was crying. I realized it was my mother. You want to know my favorite part? Ethan asked, pulling out another document. The engagement ring. My grandmother's ring. The one you had appraised last month without telling me? It's in a trust now. Has been for 3 weeks. Your name's not on it. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. The room was spinning, faces blurring together, all of them staring at me with disgust, disappointment, or worse, pity. Oh, Ethan added, checking his phone. Right on time. The door opened. 2 men in suits walked in. One of them pulled out a badge. Ms. Cordova? We're with the Financial Crimes Division. We need to ask you some questions about fraudulent billing practices. The door opened. 2 men in suits walked in. Ethan hadn't just exposed me, he'd reported me. This is a mistake, I heard myself saying. This is all a huge misunderstanding. The investigator's face was stone. Ma'am, we can discuss this here or at the station. Get your hands off me. I jerked away as he reached for my arm. Do you know who I am? I plan events for the governor. Not anymore, someone called out. A phone screen was shoved in my face, the governor's official Twitter. Statement regarding Ms. Lara Cordova and Lux Occasions. Effective immediately, all contracts terminated pending investigation. The room erupted. Everyone had their phones out now, recording, posting, turning my destruction into content. You F-word be tard. I spun toward Ethan. You planned this whole thing? For 2 months, he said quietly. Ever since you charged that Aspen trip to the company card and told me you were at your sister's. A woman's voice cut through the chaos. Where is that bitch? Damien's wife, Veronica, stormed through the crowd. Designer dress, perfect blonde hair, and murder in her eyes. Before I could move, she grabbed the champagne from the nearest table and threw it in my face. You pathetic whore, she snarled. Did you think I was stupid? I've known for weeks. Ethan was kind enough to share everything. Damien. Where was? He's not coming, Veronica said, reading my mind. He's with his lawyer. And mine. Did you know his firm has a morality clause? He's about to lose everything. My phone was having a seizure. I looked down to see my business partner's name. Company accounts frozen. Don't try to access the office. Locks changed. Your belongings will be shipped to you after audit. No. I tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail. Your car keys, Ethan said, holding out his hand. What? The Mercedes. It's in my name. Keys. Now. You can't. Actually, I can. I reported it stolen an hour ago if you don't return it immediately. My hands were shaking as I dug through my purse. Lipstick, compact, phone, everything spilling onto the floor. People stepped back like I was contagious. The apartment, I said desperately. My things. In storage, he said. Unit 47B on Riverside. First month's paid. After that, it's your problem. My father pushed through the crowd, my mother sobbing behind him. Lara, what have you done? Dad, it's not, he's lying, We saw the video, he said quietly. We heard the recordings. How could you? I need a lawyer, I managed. With what money? Ethan asked. Your personal accounts were already running on fumes. That's why you started stealing, right? To maintain the lifestyle? My phone rang. Damien's number. Thank God. Lara. His voice was ice. My wife's filing for divorce. My firm's opening an investigation. If you try to contact me again, I'll file a restraining order. Damien, wait. He'd already hung up. The investigators were getting impatient. Miss Cordova, we need to go. I'm not going anywhere until I speak to my lawyer. Then call them from the station, the taller one said. I looked around the room. My friends, my colleagues, my family, all of them staring like I was some creature they'd never seen before. Genevieve had her phone up, live streaming. The hashtag LuxOccasion scandal was already trending. 3 years, Ethan said, and everyone turned to him. 3 years I loved you. Supported you. Believed in you. And this whole time, you were laughing at me behind my back. Ethan. The saddest part? He shook his head. I would have given you everything. The house, the money, the life you wanted. All you had to do was love me back. Or at least respect me enough not to F-word another man in our bed. Our bed. He knew about that too. How? I whispered. Hidden camera, he said simply. Installed it the day after Aspen. You want to know what I saw? My knees gave out. Someone's hands caught me, not to help, just to keep me from hitting the floor and making more of a scene. Ma'am, the investigator said. Now. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from my lawyer. My lawyer just texted. Ethan filed charges 2 hours before the party started. 4 months. That's how long it takes to lose everything. The fraud charges stuck. My lawyer negotiated it down to probation and restitution, $67,000 to be paid back over 5 years. The alternative was 18 months in prison. I signed the papers with a hand that didn't feel like mine anymore. LuxOccasions dissolved overnight. Clients didn't just leave, they scorched the earth. Reviews flooded every platform. The governor's office issued 3 separate statements distancing themselves. My industry blacklisting was so thorough that even rental companies wouldn't return my calls. Damien's divorce made the business section. His wife got the house in Westchester, the apartment in the city, and half of everything else. His firm pushed him out with a quiet severance that came with an NDA. Last I heard, he'd moved to London. He never contacted me again. My parents paid for the lawyer, then changed their locks. You need to figure out who you are, my mother had said, not meeting my eyes. Without all the lies. The studio apartment in Queens smelled like cigarettes and broken dreams. 700 square feet of reality. I got a job at a chain restaurant downtown, assistant manager, because my degree still counted for something, even if my name was poison. That's where I was standing when he walked in. 4 months later. A Tuesday night. Slow enough that I was covering the hostess stand. Ethan looked good. Better than good. He'd changed his hair, upgraded his wardrobe. The nervous energy was gone, replaced by something solid and sure. The woman with him was stunning, understated elegant where I'd been flashy, warm smile where mine had been sharp. Table for 2? I heard myself say. He didn't flinch. Please. I led them to a corner booth. Professional. Distant. Like he was any other customer. Your server will be right with you. Thank you, he said. Then, to her, this place has great pasta. You'll love it. She touched his hand across the table. An engagement ring caught the light. Bigger than mine had been. Cleaner. A solitaire that didn't need to scream for attention. I made it to the bathroom before throwing up. When I came back, Genevieve was at the bar. She pretended not to see me. Most people did now. The scandal had been delicious for about a week, then I'd become something worse than notorious. I'd become pathetic. I watched Ethan from across the restaurant. He was showing her something on his phone, probably blueprints. But she was actually interested, asking questions, making him laugh. The real kind of laugh, not the nervous one it always triggered. Halfway through their dinner, I had to pass their table. He looked up. Lara. Your water glasses need refilling, I said. We're fine. He studied me for a moment. You look well. I'm surviving. That's good. His fiancée excused herself to the restroom. We stood there, years of history compressed into silence. You knew, I said finally. From the beginning. You knew about Damien. Week 2, he confirmed. You started deleting texts instead of leaving your phone around. Small thing, but I noticed patterns. Why didn't you just leave? Because leaving would have been the predictable thing. The safe thing. The boring architect move. He smiled, but it wasn't cruel. I needed to know who you really were. And you needed to show everyone. You destroyed me. No, he said simply. You did that. I just documented it. His fiancée returned. Ready to go, babe? Almost. He pulled out his wallet, left cash on the table. $100 bill for a $60 meal. Keep the change, he said. They were almost to the door when I called out. Was any of it real? Did you ever actually love me? He turned back, considering. I loved who I thought you were, he said. But that person never existed, did she? Then they were gone, out into the city night. Off to their real home, their real life, their real love. I picked up the $100 bill. Underneath it was a business card. Not his, a therapist's. On the back, his handwriting, when you're ready to stop performing. I pocketed both and went back to the hostess stand. Another couple was waiting. Table for two? The show goes on. It just plays to an empty house now. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.